Hi guys, and welcome back to the kingdom. So one sec, I just like to apologise for the fact that my hair is still wet. I washed my hair 3 hours ago and it's still damp. My hairdryer has completely died, which is why we now have this mess of a hairstyle in front of you. So I apologise for that, but today we're going to be talking about getting yourself in the writing frame of mind. Sometimes it's really difficult to get into the zone to actually do writing, and I have a few tips to try and help you guys if you ever get stuck and help you guys be more productive when you sit down to have your writing sessions. So let's do this. Okay, so you've had your book idea for a while, but you haven't written anything, and that's because you just don't feel inspired to write. In the politest possible way, please snap out of it. Inspiration is unreliable, unpredictable, and completely overrated. Rather than having inspiration, what you actually want is a habit. If you make a habit of sitting down in front of your manuscript every single day, you are far more likely to get words onto the page rather than waiting for the inspiration fairy. A habit is far more reliable. Sitting down in front of your manuscript every day and at least trying to put words on the page is far more productive than waiting for some magical source of inspiration, which may or may not come along. If you try every day, even if you're not always successful, it doesn't even have to be every day. If you try most days when you can do it, then you're far more likely to actually get through your project and get it finished. So you're probably asking right now, okay, so how do I make writing into a habit? Well, do you remember what I said earlier about training your brain to think a certain way? So I want you guys to think back to when you were in school. I know I was in year 9 when I learned this, but I don't know when they teach it now. So we were taught in science about Pavlov and his dogs. Now Pavlov, whenever he would feed the dogs, he would ring a bell. And every time they were presented with food, he would ring a bell. So essentially we are going to do that to your mind. You are going to Pavlov yourself into creating a writing habit. Okay, so it may sound strange to sort of train your brain the same way that Pavlov trained an animal, but it's all about psychology, and trust me, it really, really works. In the short term, it can be difficult, but in the long term, you are setting yourself up for a far more productive future. I have done this personally a few times because I've moved houses, I've had my schedule change quite a lot throughout university, now coming home and working full time. So I have done this quite a few times, and every time, after the first few weeks, it has really set me up to be far more productive than anything else has. So what you want to do is you want to set yourself a small routine. Now it doesn't have to be a huge routine, it doesn't have to take hours to do, and in fact that's eating into your writing time and is actually procrastination. No, what you want is a reliable routine made of small things that you do specifically when you write. Creating this small routine should be rewarding. You do something that you like. Maybe it's food and drink that you eat and drink only when you're writing. Maybe it's lighting some really nice smelly candles. Maybe it's listening to a certain kind of music. An amalgamation. What you need to do is you need to create a writing environment that is rewarding but not distracting. And distractions include things like TV, so don't have the TV on, or sitting in a place that's really noisy. Now I know sometimes we can't always avoid distractions, but trying to minimise them will absolutely help you with your productivity. So if you do these things every time before you sit down to write, your brain will eventually associate doing these things with writing, and as such will get into the creative gear a lot more quickly. If you create this mini routine and you do it before you write every single time, your brain will start to associate those things, the smell of that nice candle, that feel of that cozy warm jumper, with writing, and it'll make you jump into the writing frame of mind a lot more quickly. So you're probably wondering what my routine is and how I even realised that this was a thing that worked in the first place. So unfortunately, when I was a teenager, I had some rather bad health complications, and it left me with an invisible mobility impairment, and unfortunately I was in and out of hospital a lot. I couldn't sleep at night. My usual routine was completely destroyed because I was taking pills left, right and centre, and I couldn't sleep, and I was in a lot of pain, hospital appointments, surgeries. It was a mess, and I found that my mental health suffered because I couldn't write, and I am someone that definitely believes that writing is really good for exploring your emotions and for your mental health. But I suffered because I couldn't write, because I couldn't find the inspiration fairy. She didn't come along and help me. So I found that making this routine was definitely a really good way to get me back into writing, and it's really worked. Every time that I've moved out of this house, I've had to move house every year when I was at university, when I came back here in the summer, and I found that making these routines and, you know, sometimes changing up elements or swapping things in and out has really helped me, and it's worked 5 or 6 different times that I've done it. So my routine starts in the evening. So because I get up really early to go to work, I start work early and I get to leave work. I wouldn't call it early, but I do get to leave slightly earlier than some people, which means I get home for about 4:30, 5 o'clock. Now, my routine starts the minute I leave work, because obviously when I'm in work mode. I'm Excel spreadsheets and understanding policies and taxes and things like that. So once I am out of the door at work, I get into my car and I try to relax. I try to switch off. The radio goes on. I sort of have a little bit of a mini party in my car. I don't know if anybody else does this, or, you know, people are just giving me weird looks, but I kind of have like a little party in the car and dance by the steering wheel when I'm at the traffic lights, because there are a lot of traffic lights on my route. Anywho, then I relax, I get home, I throw my bag to the side, strip off my coat, and I hit the on button for my laptop, because my laptop takes a little while to gear up sometimes, so I just give it a minute, and then I go and I make a cup of tea. Now, cup of tea is actually a really important part for my routine. I love tea. Tea is something that makes me feel happier. It's something that makes me feel warm and cozy. You know, whenever I'm ill, my mum always makes me a cup of tea with some sugar, because that is something that she can do to show that she cares, and it just makes me feel better. So giving myself a cup of tea and maybe a snack is rewarding, but at the same time as I'm doing that, I'm also casually socialising. Maybe I'll chat with my mum or my brothers, maybe I'll send a message to my boyfriend, do a little bit of casual socialising and interaction to make sure that when I sit down, I've got a clean slate in my mind and work is completely gone. So now I've got my cup of tea, I go and I sit down at my desk and I choose my preferred Spotify playlist, and then I play it out loud while I go and I find a snuggly hoodie and some really fluffy socks. I live in a cold house, so it's one of the things that stops me from getting cold, but actually I find it keeps me really cozy, really warm and comfortable, and it helps create that rewarding environment that I talked about. Now, previously I used to put up my hair in a messy bun every time that I did writing. I don't anymore, but sometimes if I'm really tired, I will still do that to try and give myself a little bit of juice, because it is something that I've used in the past in that room to really help me out. Now, the music that I listen to will vary depending on what I'm actually trying to write or trying to get done. If I'm writing novels, then I generally will listen to film soundtracks, game soundtracks, things without words but with lots of emotive music behind it. If I'm trying to write YouTube scripts, I will probably listen to jazz music. If I'm trying to do something for Glasses for publications, maybe I'm doing edits, maybe I'm doing something that is related to the business. I'm writing something for the business, like I'm writing a blog section for the business or something like that, then I will listen to pop because it keeps my energy up and keeps me happy. Not that doing that stuff doesn't keep me happy, but I actually find that having the distinction between those kinds of playlists actually really helps set my mind in the right place, so I know the kind of thing that I'm writing. And actually I find that doing that is a really big tip if you're working on different projects. I write a lot of espionage projects, but as you guys know, I work on multiple creative projects at the same time. Not just YouTube and books, but lots of different books. If you're working on lots of different books and lots of different styles, having different playlists might actually help you swap between the styles a lot easier and get you into the productive frame of mind. Now, one of the things that I don't do when I'm writing, and I'm talking about novel writing in this instance, is I don't review what I wrote the day before, because if I've done my job right and I followed my plot like I thought I would, then I don't need to go back and review it because I've already thought about that in my plotting stage. Some of the things I will do is I will look at some of my what I call aesthetics or mood boards that I keep with my ideas to sort of refresh me of some of the ideas and the aesthetics that I want to get into the novel. Maybe it'll take me a song or two to really get into it. Sometimes I really struggle and it'll take me 20 minutes to 25 minutes to really get going. But once I do get going, that's it. Boom, I'm productive and I can get like 1,000 words, 2,000 words out in an evening, which is a lot. Generally speaking, I can write a chapter in an evening, which, you know, is a first draft. So it's not going to be super smooth or super easy. It's a first draft. It's going to be lumpy and bumpy and all over the place. But when you're writing a first draft and you can get a chapter out in an evening, you feel so productive when you go to bed. And that is such a good, warm feeling to have. So I really recommend when you're trying to create a writing habit to stick with it, even if you're not writing anything, for at least 30 minutes. Sit there and try for 30 minutes. If after 30 minutes you're still not doing it, then there's probably one of two reasons why you're struggling to write. One is that you're distracted by something else. You're trying to sit down and focus on your novel, but you're thinking about something else you've got to do. You're stressed out, you're distracted, in which case you should probably go away and do that thing that is distracting you or putting pressure on you. The other reason is probably that you're tired, and this happens quite a lot, particularly, I get up early for work, so by the time I sit down on Friday to do some writing, I am absolutely shattered. So if you're tired, be kind to yourself and go and get that sleep that you need. You can't build something beautiful and creative if you're doing it when you're tired, because you're not going to have your best ideas when you're tired, or at least that isn't what 99% of the population have. Being too tired to write is a legitimate reason not to write. Your brain needs fuel to be creative, and you should be kind to yourself throughout this creative process. But I would say don't use that excuse more than once a week, because otherwise that will become a habit, rather than the habit of writing that you actually wanted to create. So I would give yourself one tired let out a week. But still, it's a legitimate it's a legitimate reason. It's not even an excuse, it's a reason for you to not write, because you're not going to write your best if you're tired. Be kind to yourself, go take a nap, whatever it is you need to do to make yourself feel better, because in the long run that's definitely better for your health. If you're too tired to write 5 nights out of the week, then something is wrong. Either it's your lifestyle or it's become an excuse. And if it's your lifestyle, why are you so exhausted when you get home from your day job or what it is you do every day? Now, if you're a stay-at-home mum, I completely understand, because you don't have working hours. You are constantly a mum, you're working all the time 24/7. But at the same time, surely while the kids are at school, if your kids are school age, you can write during that period. But if there's a way that you can stop being tired, maybe switching something up at work, maybe taking a few breaks every now and again. I don't know what your situation is. You've got to do what's right for you and your family. But if you're tired all of the time, every time you get home from work, and it's not just an excuse, I would really recommend switching something up in your life so that you're not tired, because that is definitely not a healthy way to live. Okay guys, I hope this was an interesting video for you guys to see. I hope that you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. I think it's really important to get into a habit when you're trying to write, because it's definitely far more reliable than Inspiration Fairy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you've got any questions, put them in the comment section and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. If you've got any other questions, you can hit me up on my social media platforms as well, and I will also try to respond as soon as possible. As always, you guys, I hope you have positive and productive weeks, and I will see you all in the book chatter very, very soon, or see you in my Gold Boss Girls videos, or any of my other videos that might be coming out soon. So I will see you guys very, very shortly. Bye!